Hey, you guys. Okay, so sometimes on this channel, we talk about food. We talk about grocery store savings, affordable meals, but I'm pretty sure talking about the Food Network star Guy Fieri, this is a first. And there was a recent article on People magazine, and they reported that he isn't planning on leaving his kids any money when he dies. And since he just signed an estimated $100 million deal with the Food Network, this got people talking. Some people think it's selfish of him to do this. Others think that it's fair to encourage your kids to forge their own paths. And as someone who literally grew up in the world of personal finance and now teaches and talks about money, I kind of want to, give you my thoughts on this. Because realistically, what does more damage in the long term? Leaving your kids an inheritance or leaving them with nothing and forcing them to work it out on their own? I don't know. Let's talk about it. So first, let's hear Guy out, okay? Because when he's saying that he doesn't want to leave his kids money, why? Well, according to the article, he said, I've told them the same thing my dad told me. My dad says, when I die, you can expect that I'm going to die broke and you're going to have to pay for the funeral. So it sounds like he leans more on the tough side of love, if you know what I mean. And he also says that he expects his sons to get at least 2 graduate degrees. One of them is currently working on a law degree. The other one is pursuing an MBA. And Guy isn't the only high-earning celebrity who's not planning on passing down his money to his kids. The NBA star Shaq, as we all know, he said he wants to help his kids thrive within reason. So Shaq's 6 kids have to present their dad with a fully formed business plan to prove that he should invest his money before he gives them anything. And Bill Gates, another great example. If you're a 90s kid like me, you always remember Bill Gates being the richest guy in the world. And a lot of people talk about how much he gives back. As of January of 2024, he's estimated of giving away $9 billion in his foundation. So overall, he's giving a lot of money, obviously, that's, his kids won't see. They won't see that, but he's got billions. So some reports say that they're not going to give their kids anything, but the principle of the matter is the same. So clearly there are a lot of wealthy entrepreneurs out there who are standing firm and intentionally decide not to give their kids a free pass. What is the right answer? Well, here at Ramsey, we are a biblically based company. And so we do talk a lot about giving back and what that looks like to change your family tree. And in Proverbs 13:22, it says, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Now, of course, that verse can be more than just money in your bank account, right? I mean, I think leaving an inheritance of a spiritual walk, an inheritance of character, an inheritance of wisdom or compassion or discipline, like all of these things you want to pass down generationally. And this works in reverse too, that you get generational traits like selfishness or greed or laziness, right? And so you can see like, what am I teaching my kids and what are they learning as the norm in life? But at Ramsey, our primary motivation, again, is getting people to a place where they're debt-free, they have a say over their income, they're able to build wealth, and they're able to be extremely generous. Now, because usually, this is all about the behavior transformation. It's not always the dollar amount. So this idea that you live like no one else, you sacrifice, you get out of debt, you save up an emergency fund, so that way you can live and give like no one else. And having the margin in your budget to pay it forward and bless others with your money, it's just a really powerful part of winning with money. And again, giving is one of the most fun things that you can do with money. The joy that comes when you give, and this could be to an organization or a charity you love, maybe your local church, maybe a family that needs it or a person. Whatever happens there, the joy is tremendous. So when we talk about that, where do our kids come into play? Because if you don't know, I have 3 little ones, Amelia, Caroline, and Charles. They're 8, 6, and 4 right now, and they're still years away from going out into the world and handling money on their own. But we do want to set them up for success. And so when I look at what my parents have done financially and, the character traits that they've passed on to us, the opportunities that we've been given, there's different things there that I think are really important and I think are such a gift if I, as the second generation, can steward those well. And I look at my kids and I'm like, oh man, one thing they will not have is seeing the sacrifice that their parents, me and Winston, went through. I mean, there's some sacrifice there, but like my parents filed bankruptcy, right? So like as a kid, like there was lots of sacrifice that I was experiencing, and my kids will never know that drastic of a change in their life. So the norm and the baseline that Winston and I have to set, we have to be really intentional with, of like, hey, this is what life looks like. And we live on a budget. We live below our means. Like, we do this plan that we talk about on the show all the time. And so letting the norm be the baseline of giving and saving and then spending, whatever it is, letting them learn that money comes from work and working and all of that, is huge. It is so, so huge. So when you think about the actual tactical side, though, of money being passed down generation to generation, personally, I don't see it as a completely wrong thing in the world, right? I don't think I'm on this extreme side of don't give your kids a penny. But I do think if you just provide every single thing for them, there's a part of their dignity that is never formed because they always have this level of a handout. So what can you do in a balance to say, hey, we want to help jumpstart our kids? And and I know families now that they're not waiting to die to give their kids everything, right? Because if you do think about it, it is an interesting thought. There's a book called Die with Zero, but it's basically this idea that it's spend it all, because what are we here for? Enjoy your money while you're here. Because if you just save it all, this person was saying in the book, and then you pass it to your kids, let's say you live till you're 85, and maybe your kids are 60, well, they've already established their whole life, right? At that point, so they don't always technically need that money. So then what are they gonna do? Have it in an account for 20, 30 years and then pass this down to their kids, 30 years later. So it's kind of this point of what are we doing all this for, right? And I get that. There is a level that I'm okay, I can see why someone says that. So almost my hope for my kids is are there things I can do that still gives them dignity, still gives them the ability to get up and go to work and learn how to manage their money and work for what they want, but also gives them a jump start in life, right? If you can start them out with a great mutual fund and they can use some of that money maybe for a down payment on a house, or even the crazy thought of what if you paid for your kid's first house, right? And instead of a mortgage payment, they invest it. And instead of it going to the bank, they invest it for their future. I don't know, these different ways that you can get creative and think big of what could I do for my kids to set them up well, but it still gives them dignity. And it's an interesting conversation to have because I don't think anyone has the exact right answer, but I'm always about balance in life. So this extreme side of give them everything or give them nothing. I'm what's that medium, range there, that balance? Where, we can actually bless our kids and help them start off on a really great foot. That's such an advantage. I mean, that's wonderful. But also that they have the ability to make decisions on their own, and they have to work, and they have to have the dignity of paying the cable bill and the light bill or whatever it is. So there's somewhere in that balance that I think is really key. But leaving an inheritance to your children's children, the inheritance is more than just money. So teaching them contentment, teaching them that, having stuff is not wrong, but it's not going to fulfill you the way you think it will. You will be a rat in a wheel the rest of your life if you just keep accumulating more stuff thinking that's going to make you happy, right? So we want to pass an inheritance of that wisdom. We want to pass an inheritance of contentment and all these other parts of life to them as well. So it's an interesting subject to talk about, and I know some people are very opinionated on it, but I think it's interesting. So again, it's a personal choice. And again, it's all about balance, because too much of a good thing, it can be harmful. And if it's a lot really fast and they don't know how to handle it, that can be really scary. So you want your heart in a place where you have a lot of wisdom that you're using and a lot of generosity. The giving aspect of giving to others who need it, I think, is huge to model for your kids, regardless of where you are financially. Ask yourself, what will realistically be helpful for your kids? And make sure, again, you're pouring into the character side of them as well. And guess what? I have a video all about how to set your kids up for financial freedom. So make sure to click the link below and check that out. And you can also grab my kids' book, I'm Glad for What I Have, because it teaches about contentment. And again, this idea that stuff is not wrong, it's not bad, but it does not fulfill us the way we think it will. So remember, you guys, to take control of your money and create a life you love.